Mr. Richard Silverstein, I really appreciate that you accepted my invitation. First of all, I would like to introduce yourself, very briefly, if it is possible, for the viewers of my program.
Sure. My name is Richard Silverstein, and I write a blog that is called Tikkun Olam, and it deals with the Israeli-Arab conflict and issues about Israeli democracy and national security.
Mr. Silverstein, you are focusing in your articles in the Middle East issues, especially about what is going on the Islamic Republic of Iran. And your recent post, has been very popular and famous, and many analyzers, have studied it and they have used it in their radios or their television, especially your recent article about the attack that happened to the military bases in Iran, in Tehran, and you said that in your article that MEK or Mujahideen Khalq has been cooperated with the Mossad, and Israel and Mujahideen Khalq together has done this secret operation. Would you please explain it more, give me more details and about what you claim? And as you know, the Mujahideen Khalq or the Mossad, as usual, they don't accept, that they have done this operation.
Right. My understanding is that the Mossad used operatives of Mujahideen al-Khalq to penetrate the security at the base, and they have worked together in other ways as well, with the assassination of 3 nuclear scientists over the past year or two in Tehran. And I haven't been able to confirm this clearly and explicitly, but the MEK in the United States is involved with the campaign to try to get itself removed from the U.S. terror list, and it's been financing that campaign by paying American politicians quite substantial amounts of money to lobby on their behalf in Congress. And, I believe that it's likely that a lot of the funding that is coming for this may be coming from a source like Israel or the Mossad. But my understanding is that the operation at the missile base was done by the Mossad together with the MEK.
Okay. You think that the United States has been involved in this attack to Iran too, or just the Mossad or the Mujahideen Khalq together do it?
That's a very interesting question. I think it would be difficult for the CIA to do anything explicit that would be cooperating with the MEK, because it's on this terror watch list. And that may be another reason why the MEK wants to be removed from the list, because if it is, then the CIA could work more explicitly with it. I can't for sure say whether the CIA was involved with the attack, but given that a number of Western and American sources have confirmed in Time magazine, for example, the Israeli correspondent for Time said that a Western source confirmed for him that the Mossad was involved in the attack. So the fact that I believe that was probably a U.S. source, although I don't know for sure. So certainly it's in the U.S. interest to be able to subvert the missile program in this way. So it's possible that they were involved, but I can't confirm that explicitly.
That's right. I understand exactly what you are trying to say. As you know, Mujahideen Khalq are in the list of terrorist groups. You know, the United States has put in the list. And you think if Mujahideen Khalq are involving in these attacks, are cooperating with the Mossad, Israeli intelligence, do they want to be removed from the list because of their cooperation with Mossad, or they have another purposes from this cooperation with Israel?
Well, one thing, just to repeat what I said, is I believe that if they were removed from the list, it would really free up the ability of American intelligence to cooperate with them directly like the Mossad is. So that would be one benefit to them, and they could operate more freely in the U.S. And lobby Congress on behalf of whatever approach they want Congress to take to Iran. Those are the basic ideas that I wanted to mention about that.
In some part of your article, Mr. Silverstein, you have mentioned the name of the Afghani Mujahideen, especially Haqqani network, and you have said that if the United States of America help Mujahideen Khalq, they can be their enemy, possible enemy in the future, such as what happened to the Afghan Mujahideen of Afghan and Haqqani network, or the Taliban group. Do you think that if the United States of America remove their name from the terrorist groups and help them, they can be a future, they can be an enemy in the future for the United States of America?
Yes, definitely. I think that the MEK has its own agenda, and that agenda involves trying to both overthrow the current regime and also establishing its own rule in Iran, and that it will do anything that it needs to do in order to advance those goals. In Afghanistan, we funded this huge network of mujahideen there and provided them with a huge amount of weapons in order to combat the Russian control of Afghanistan. And when Russia left, we've now taken the place of Russia as the enemy of many of these forces in Afghanistan. And I think it's very easy. The MEK, from what I understand of its history, has attacked U.S. interests in the past. And now it's a matter of convenience for them to be allied with the United States and with the Mossad. But if in the future their interests change, I have no doubt whatsoever that they would become an enemy again and be willing to take us on and harm our interests. So I think that the problem with U.S. policy and Israeli policy as well is that it's very short-term, it's very short-sighted. It doesn't try to take into account who its allies are and what their interests are and how those interests may change over time and harm them in the future.
Thank you. In the let's come back to the recent attack. In the recent attack, regime sources, especially the Revolutionary Guard, considered that Hassan Moghadam, the father of the nation's missile, has been killed in this explosion, and many other, officers, military officer has been killed, Mr. Silverstein. But I'm wondering why the regime doesn't say clearly that this operation has been done by Israel or Mujahideen or the United States of America. They do not accept it in their formal medias. What's going on?
Yeah, formally you're right, and publicly they have denied this. However, there were some statements made by the mayor of Tehran and by others that acknowledged that both that he was a martyr and also that he died at the hands of the enemies of Iran. So I think that tacitly they are confirming that it was an attack, a deliberate sabotage effort that took his life. And sources in Israel as well are good sources with reliable information connected to intelligence figures have said that it was a deliberate attack on Iran. And I think that one of the reasons that they might not wish to do this, the Iranians I'm talking about, is that it would reveal that Mossad had been able to penetrate their security. And with a matter as important to Iran as its missile program, for Israel to be able to penetrate the security and sabotage not just some of the most advanced missiles, but also to kill the father of the missile program would be a tremendous embarrassment for the IRG. So that might be a reason why they wouldn't want to publicly concede that it was Israel's fault. In the case of the assassination of the nuclear scientists, they did accuse Israel of being involved, but that was not something that would be so embarrassing to them in terms of penetration of really important layers of security like they would put around their missile program.
Mr. Silverstein, can I implicate from your saying that there will be no war between America or Israel, between Israel and Iran, because already they have started the hidden war, especially they are targeting the military bases inside Iran in order to weakness, the military potential in Iran. So can we say that there will be no war because they are trying just to have hidden operation as they did recently, in Tehran?
I think that what we have to distinguish is two possible tracks of action for Israel. One would be a covert attacks, black ops in English is what they're called, like the ones that have been used by the Mossad to assassinate nuclear scientists and to sabotage the missile base, and Stuxnet, the attack on Iran's centrifuge systems in their nuclear facilities would be another example. And then the second track would be a direct frontal attack, a military attack. I don't think that we can say that if they are engaging in covert actions that they won't engage in a frontal attack. I think that there are elements in Israel that are favoring both options, separate groups, so that you have the intelligence and military people that are favoring a covert program, and you have the prime minister and the defense minister who are favoring a direct military attack. So I think that it depends who will win. And so the prime minister and the defense minister, I believe, have been in favor of a direct attack. So it really depends on who will win in this battle, whether it will be the intelligence and military echelon or whether it will be the political echelon. I think that the United States does not want Israel to attack, and the United States is acting as a brake on any possible attack. But there's a strong chance that Israel will go ahead and attack anyway. I really can't tell you for sure what will happen, but I think that what the Mossad and what the Army are arguing is that as long as we have success with the covert operations, why do we need to engage in a frontal attack? So the more success, the more successes. The more successes that they have, they can come back to Netanyahu and Ehud Barak, and they can say, we've slowed down their program, we've sabotaged their most advanced missiles, we've killed the head of the missile program, and we've assassinated the scientists, and we've damaged the centrifuge systems with Stuxnet. So for you to take the risk of a direct attack with all the damage that will happen to Israel's status in the world community, why do you need to take that risk when we're successful? So it's really in English we say it's a crapshoot. You just don't know what is going to be the end result. But I have to say that everything that I was reading coming out of Israel over the past month led me to believe that there would be a direct attack and that it would happen relatively soon. But now I believe there's been so much controversy about that when Israeli journalists started to write that there would be an attack, that I think that Netanyahu and Barak may have taken a step back and either aren't going to attack at all or at least are going to delay.
As a opposition of the regime, there is a problem in the opposition of the regime, Iranian regime. I am one of the opposition of regime. Mr. Silverstein, there isn't one strong alternative, in front of this regime. There are so many groups, they claim they are the opposition of the regime, and some of them, such as MEK or Mossad and MEK, are not a democratic, organization. They themselves, have a dictatorship, relation between, their members. So there is two problems. Yeah, I mean that before attacking, I'm trying to speak about the possible attack. The Mossad or the CIA, they have to talk with the opposition of the regime. But the problem is this, there isn't a democratic opposition in the regime, and the MEK or Mujahideen Khalq, because they have done a lot of terrorist attacks, inside the Iran, and because they don't believe in their act, the democracy. They say that they are a democratic, organization, but as you mentioned, their history doesn't show it. So I think one of the problem can be the alternative of the regime. So what's your opinion about what I said?
The problem with Israel's policy is that it's turned to Mossad al-Khalq because it's willing to engage in acts of terror inside Iran. The true opposition, I don't know if you want to call it the democratic opposition or the reform movement, obviously doesn't want to engage in acts of terror or even in acts of violence, because that would discredit it in the eyes of the world and in the eyes of Iranians. So it's not useful to Israel for that reason. I don't think Israel's goal is to topple the current regime, and it would like to see a regime replace it that was more amenable to Israeli interests. If it could, it would have something like the Shah, put back in power, or if the MEK was going to be pliable towards Israeli interests, then it would want to...
The monarchist.
Israel would prefer to have the monarchists back in power, or to have the MEK, as long as the MEK was going to adopt policies that would be sympathetic to Israel's interests. If the MEK did, God forbid, took over in Iran and had its own independent interests that came into conflict with Israel, then what I told you before would be the case, where the MEK wouldn't hesitate to have policies that would conflict with Israel, and then Israel's former allies would then become its enemies again. So the Israeli policy towards Iran is very short-sighted. It's not reaching out to the democratic opposition, to the Green Movement. It's instead reaching out to violent interests inside Iran, people willing to engage in terror and kill people and subvert the order in Iran. And Israel should have a longer-term view of Iran and really be making alliances, if it can, with the democratic forces. And that's why I think anyone trying to ally with MEK is really it's going to blow up in their face in the future.
Yeah, that's great. I agree with you. I agree with you, Mr. Server. As a last question, I don't want to get your time more. I heard from some sources, especially Radio France, that your website has been filtered or being censored in the Israel. And I was wondering, why should the Israeli regime, censor your website or filter it? Would you please give some explanation about what I read in the Radio France?
Well, what is interesting to me about Israel right now is, in some ways, I liken it to the Iranian regime. There is a very strong rising tide of authoritarianism inside Israel. There's an effort to control the media so that it doesn't say things that criticize the government, that criticize military and intelligence policies, and there's a clampdown by the government on dissidents and on peace activists and on democratic forces, similar to what the Iranian regime is doing. And my voice inside Israel is supporting democracy and supporting the forces that are trying to create a freer regime and a bunch of different approaches to Israeli policy that are different than the ones that are being followed right now. There are forces inside Israel that don't want my voice to be heard. There are people sympathetic to the intelligence community and the like. And my site has been attacked in the past, and access to it has been denied through a DOS attack. And I get a lot of threats and a lot of angry, violent responses from certain people inside Israel, because I really want to see an Israel that is at peace with its neighbors, including Iran, and I want to see an Israel that grants full equal rights to its Palestinian citizens, and that threatens many Jews inside Israel who want to maintain superior rights for Jews inside the country. I want to see both all the religions inside Israel treated equally and treated with respect, and there are forces inside Israel that are very threatened by the idea that Palestinian citizens should have equal rights, and I think that's the nature of the anger at the position that I represent.
Mr. Silverstein, I have a very, very clear question. First of all, do you feel yourself safe in the United States? And the second question that I'm wondering, that do you think that Mossad in the future, can harm you or can terror you, or CIA can harm you, or do they harass you inside the United States too, or have you been interviewed by CIA because of what you publish in the website? These are what I think. Maybe I'm coming from a dictatorship in Iran. Yeah. That's why I think that, for example, CIA, like the Iranian regime, called them and then interview them. Have you ever experienced this, or it never happens in the United States and you feel yourself safe, very safe inside America?
I think I feel safe in America. I don't know how the Shin Bet would react if I tried to visit Israel. It's possible that they would want to question me, because they have actually detained American dissidents like Norman Finkelstein and Noam Chomsky and prevented them from visiting Israel. So it's possible they might do something like that if I tried to visit. But I feel fairly safe here. The CIA, there are laws in the United States that prevent the CIA from harassing American citizens. If anyone in the intelligence community was interested in me, it would have to be the FBI, which deals with domestic cases like mine. I have had contact in the past with the Justice Department because I was the recipient of leaks from an FBI employee about Israeli diplomatic activity in the United States that was lobbying for a harsh approach towards Iran and was intervening in the American political process in terms of demonizing Iran. So that FBI employee was exposed, unfortunately, and ended up going to jail. So I did have some conversations with the Justice Department in that case. But because I'm a journalist, there were certain protections that are offered to me by the Constitution, freedom of the press and the like. So I didn't get into any, difficulties over that. And I feel safe, in what I'm doing. I realize that I'm stirring up a hornet's nest, and there are a lot of people that are angry at me. But I feel that's part of the, risk that you have to take if you want to take the positions that I'm taking. There are going to be people that would like to harm you or threaten you, and you just have to try to have a thick skin about it and try to gain as many supporters as you can to help get you through the opposition and the harassment of your opponents.
I'm very happy, Mr. Silverstein, that you and me, we are in the right place and we have protection. So there is nothing to be worried. Mr. Silverstein, again, I really appreciate that you accepted my invitation, and we had a very friendly conversation about the Middle East issues and other security issues. And it was your views was very interesting for me. It's very interesting, and I know it will be very interesting for my viewers too. At the end, if you have any issue or anything that you would like to share it with the viewers of my program or with the Iranian people, you have a few minutes, if you have something to share with Iranian people.
Thank you, Farhad. I appreciate that. I just wanted to let you and your viewers know, I'm not sure whether your program reaches to the Northwest, but on December 2nd, we will be hosting an event at a church in Seattle, and the topic will be on a collision course, Iran, Israel, and the United States. And the goal of our program will be to discuss whether or not a military attack on Iran is imminent, and we'll be having Professor Mohammad Sahimi of the University of Southern California speak about what's going on in Iran, and I will be speaking about the Israeli approach to Iran and trying to educate our audience about the dangers of a possible military attack by Israel or by the United States. And I wanted to say to your viewers as well that there are lots of stereotypes probably among Iranians in Iran about Israel and about American Jews. And while there certainly are many in Israel that view Iran, the regime in Iran, as a threat to Israel, and I believe that there is a tremendous amount of hostility between Israel and Iran, but there are many in Israel, and there are many in the American Jewish community that want to see a peaceful resolution of the issue, and think that while I would prefer Iran not to have a nuclear weapon, and would like to see negotiations happen that would allow Iran to find a way not to do that. But I don't believe, like many do, that even if Iran were to get a nuclear weapon, that would make the world a more dangerous place, or that it would be likely the weapon would be used against Israel. We have lots of powers like North Korea and Pakistan that have nuclear weapons, and luckily historically have not used them, and those countries are as dangerous or more dangerous than Iran would be, and Israel itself has 200 to 400 nuclear weapons. So there are lots of dangers already in the world with nuclear powers. So I don't see Iran as really fundamentally changing that dynamic. I'd like to see a way that all powers in the world can coexist peacefully, and an attack on Iran would really help, I think, destroy the reform movement in Iran, because the reform movement would be seen as being allied with the forces that are attacking Iran. So it really would be a disaster for that to happen, and that's why I'm working to see that it doesn't.